right, boys, welcome back to another phenomenal episode of Podium Talk Podcast. In this episode, we just reviewed quickly the Southeastern Collegiate Cup, kind of went over what we didn't like, what we would improve, some of the performances, and some of the shout outs we gave. Overall, a nice, easy, quick pod to listen to if you want to know what went down, and hope you enjoy it. Welcome to Podium Talk. Welcome back to another episode. Haven't recorded one of these in a while, so we are back in it. I don't think we need a training recap. Obviously, I'm doing phenomenal. Tony's doing phenomenal. Avery's on his way back, doing phenomenal. Let's talk about this meet. Southeastern Collegiate Cup just went down yesterday, so let's speak on it a little bit. Y'all both handled lifters. I commentated. Let's just dive right in. Tony, what would you like overall? What would you qualify? Let's just say one word into this meet. One word to qualify this meet. What do you say?
One word. Okay.
You could do multiple one words, but like, so me personally, I would say like kind of, I felt like it was a little bit unprepared. Like they weren't fully ready for this meet. They didn't think about all the plans, but I would also say it was very hyped. So those are my two kind of words. It was crowded, hyped, but a little bit unprepared.
I would say one word would be finite. I don't know if that makes sense, but finite because there was a like finite amount of space, like the venue was really small. Finite amount of resources. They didn't have any medals. They didn't have any. They there was no TVs with the lifting cast. There was only one TV the whole place with a lifting cast, and that was in the center of two platforms. Um, there just wasn't enough room for all the people in there whenever there was a huge lift for people to kind of move around to get where they needed to get. Wasn't enough room behind the curtains, anything like that. So I would say there was just a very limited amount of everything there. Finite.
That was beautiful, Tony. I
What's
mean,
funny, Eli? How was that funny?
I mean, one word you went on for 10 minutes, but that was actually a phenomenal response. I was not expecting that from you. Avery, anything to say, like one word to say about this meet?
Yeah, I mean, I guess without like trying to dig in too deep or whatever, I just say congested, man.
Felt. Avery said mellow right now.
No, I
Bro's recovering
Calm
from a lot.
down. Hey,
Recovering from a sickness, recovering from a long meet day, and then the Lions game's on. So, you gotta be there. But so we kind of listed some negatives there. Let's get into a little bit of a positive. Money meet, gave out some money. I'm not sure. I didn't stay for the rewards, so I don't know how the money went from 1, 2, 3. But obviously Kyle White, 504 dots to Tony. Pass it on to Tony. What do you got?
no, I was just gonna say it was 500, 300, 150.
Okay. Third place got 150. I'd be pretty happy with 150. So I believe the placement went Kyle White 504, Spurgeon with what, like 470-ish? I think maybe 473. I'll have to pull it up in a second. And then Kelly Jalk, I believe, with 444. So I mean, solid performances there. I think we saw 15 plus lifters with 400 dots across both sessions. This was a 2-session meet with 2 platforms, so it was a whole lot happening. On the commentary booth, me and Avery for the first session. It wasn't too bad, wasn't
how
too
many were in
hectic.
the first session though, Eli?
Huh? How
How
many
many of
400?
those like of the 15 or
Well, I know there were, so Lilia was the only female. She had 403. I believe for dudes there was 3 400 dots, like right above 400. I think the
okay, I
biggest,
actually didn't know that. So
yeah, so the biggest dots from the first session was 429, I believe. It was right there, 429 or 419. I'm pretty sure 429. And that was a 67, I think. I'm not sure. I'd have to look back. But then second session, obviously a lot of heavy hitters there. All those 82s that went for the QT, they all had 400 plus dots, plus the people who missed it had a 400 plus dots. So a lot of great to happen there. obviously DNA is a beautiful venue. It's just not really well qualified to have a meet. So I mean, I don't
No, I
know.
mean
So
that. No, the main reason I said congested is because like you could say it all around, like the warm up room, not the behind the stage,
mhm,
shit in the middle of the stage.
yeah,
There would be like 10 people that were not lifting and not really coaching in any capacity, just being an entourage in the middle of two platforms. And then
yeah,
like and then like DNA is not the smallest gym, but like it it is definitely finite in its abilities, or whatever. But like it just, I still felt like they could have made the gym more open somehow. Because like
yeah,
even the seating for the spectators was like not arranged in any real way that was thought out.
yeah. I mean, in my opinion, like a lot of the things ran like they were put together last minute. Like I like that we had chairs, that wasn't available at our last collegiate meet. So Matt secured the chairs from his old church. We know that. That was phenomenal. We'll get into some of the standards we like to see. So we are going to have a pod with Drew, who runs some meets, and we'll get into like standards we want to see set across the board and like what meets like absolutely should have. But what meets should have is a flow of traffic. So you look at the warm-up room, it was in the side room. That's where the male bathroom is. A lot of dudes in the building, and there's single
That was
stall, like,
terrible.
yeah, there's like one person bathrooms. They did have a porta potty out back, but a lot of dudes in the room because it is a powerlifting meet, so we're talking like 75% dudes. So they're in
I
the
was about to
warm-up
say it's just
room.
like the warm up room was very
What
small. It was small and cramped to begin with, and then you've got the thing about at all times there was a line all the way out the door basically to go to the bathroom, even if it wasn't a competitor, because that was where the person was supposed to go to the bathroom.
hmm, for sure, for sure. I
Yep.
mean, it was a bit hectic. Tony, for the first session, you had the females and then the lighter men lifters. How was the split between the warm-up room and that? Because I know like dude lifters in general are the same height, are the same strength, but having both of those back there at the same time, how was that handling trying to get your lifter under a bar?
Well, we had flights like so the first flight, I'm trying to make sure I'm saying I'm right here.
So Plat A
So I
started
want
like
to
5 minutes early.
yeah, well flight A was mostly women, right?
Hmm.
Um so and then I think we had a flight B of women as well.
Yeah.
But there wasn't really any men in my way like that. In the lightweight guys, there just weren't many of them. So I think in the warm up room with me and Jules, there were like 4 dudes, 5 dudes or so max at the
Hmm.
time that we were warming up. So that little like inter like that little like collision was nothing really serious at all. Like I don't think any of the girls were complaining like why are we warming up with these other guys and and I don't think the guys were complaining either. I think uh honestly the session 1, what like the warm up room, it was okay. Like I'd imagine it was really rough in session 2 when there's a bunch of dudes
Yeah.
lifting all this weight. So in session 1, honestly, it wasn't that bad. It just the hardest part to me was just that yeah, man, they didn't put the openers in the lifting cast at like 8:30. They put it in at like 9 and I had no idea when we were starting, so getting one of my athletes prepared to squat was extremely hectic. It
Frustrating.
honestly
Yeah.
just was a matter of yeah, guessing. Like I had no idea what was going on. So
Yeah. I mean, I feel you there. It means obviously you made a great point there that like in session two, you have dudes loading red after red after red. Obviously, the females probably don't go up that high, and the lighter weight men. A lot of newer lifters that probably don't know what they're warming up with will just take whatever's on the bar. So that's probably a big help for that first session. I really don't want to get into the negatives, I have to say. I kind of want to praise the meet a little bit here, just so we're not all negative, negative, negative. This meet was majority the purpose of it was for CNATs QTs, and we saw a lot of those being hit. Lifters still going out and performing no matter what happened in the bag. A lot of phenomenal like PRs, and obviously we'll have Julia on the pod later, and we'll talk about that. But so I mean, still a lot of positives, but I don't know if I would have wanted to compete at this meet, if I'm being honest. What about you guys?
No, I don't think I would have been able to because simply, I don't know, that warm up room for me, I didn't even see it in session two. I didn't.
Mhm.
So I'm not gonna speak too much on it because I just wasn't back there because I didn't want to be another. I did see it for squats though because they were because we hadn't started yet, so I was just kind of looking
Mhm.
back, kind of like checking on Easton and stuff and Will and all those other guys.
Uh-huh.
It was rough in there, bro. I don't think I could have warmed up in that place, man.
Yeah.
I mean, is any obviously I could, but like it was just dude after dude. Like I'd imagine there was probably like what 6 people on a rack at a time.
Yeah.
Yep.
So to me, like I just like when I'm like in meat mode, bro, I'm really selfish. I'm like I don't like sharing anything. I don't like doing. I like having my handler and me, and then
Mhm.
honestly, I don't even like my friends around, bro, because they're gonna distract me and like want to talk to me and stuff. So um for that, I really wouldn't want to have competed here. There was a lack of that. There was a lack of volunteers. That was another thing that I actually noticed. There weren't enough refs to make sure that like that one ref that's supposed to be there that like calls out names and like,
Yeah.
oh, like, we got Easton, Will, and then Matt coming up. Like, where's Will? Where's Matt? Where you guys at? There was no ref there for that. There's no ref there to like make sure that your wraps are on properly or
Mhm.
that you were the right person coming up. So if you went out there with your wraps on wrong, like they're just gonna like you're just gonna have they're gonna tell you like, yo, get back off the stage until you put your wraps on right or whatever.
Yeah.
And you'd imagine there's a lot of brand new lifters there. People literally would walk out there and lift somebody else's weight and nobody would know because nobody
Yep.
was checking. So in my personal opinion, bro, yeah. And if I was on platform two, we got to get into that. If I was on platform two, in K-Dub, Landon session, all them, bro, what was it? 20 minutes in between attempts?
Yeah, so all day
Am I
platform two, the spotters and loaders, those volunteers were just slow. There's a lot of misloads, like Kyle's second squat, I believe, was misloaded, or was it his third? I'm not sure,
second?
but so his second squat was
Yeah,
misloaded by 20 pounds on one side, I believe. A white on but the whole day platform two was just lagging, whether it's just like getting the bars loaded command. It was like a 15-20 minute turnaround to lifter. Like we noticed like I saw Spurgeon's opener bench, and then we were zoned in on platform one because it was like heavy 82 deadlifts because got real intense. And then it felt like 20 minutes we turned over, and Spurgeon's just now taking his second. But also, not even that, the referees on platform two were given start commands. They were waiting a while to give start commands. Like I know none of y'all had to deal with that, but I noticed it on squat and on bench. They were just holding the weight for a while, and then they'd eventually get the start command. Pause commands were pretty decent on the day, but overall, I think refing was a bit strict where it shouldn't be. I don't know if y'all noticed that. Obviously, Avery, you had
I,
lifters,
I,
but
I mean, I didn't have it like anyone on that platform or anything. I really don't even like other than the commentate in the morning when it was just like a little bit delayed. I
mhm,
have no idea about how like the men's like this or the second session went over there.
yeah. I mean, there was just a lot of red lights for squat and not necessarily on depth, but like I don't know if it was a mistake, but they'd occasionally put a command like one ref would give you a red light for jumping a command that you didn't jump. So I don't know if that's a slip of the finger or they meant to hit depth, but there were some things that just seemed a little off with the refereeing. I think it was a lot of younger refs out there that day. But yeah.
yeah,
But the
man.
lifting
I
cast was
mean,
also a huge problem.
yeah, man. I mean, Avery, I know you need to talk about that one more, but the Lipton cast was like taking forever to input the openers, man. Didn't they on session 1, bro, they combined flight A and B last minute, so I had no
Mhm.
idea that there were on at least on platform 1 they did that. So I had no idea that her flight was finna be this big. Didn't know when it was gonna start. Didn't know where in the flight she was starting at.
But
Uh,
I don't know. I mean, it was like you spoke on it earlier. It's really unfortunate to not have like TVs around. You know, usually there's TVs like
On
several
each side.
places so everyone knows where they are in the order or whatever. But I mean, the reason that it was so hectic for Easton and Will's like last warm up is because they didn't take it at all. But I don't know how it happened because I was locked in on Lifting Cast and like on top of the timing and everything. And then Chris comes out here saying Easton's gotta go, like he's on the board. And so and then like yeah, it just like updated somehow and then Easton was supposed to be out there. I don't know how. So they didn't even take their last warm ups for squats, but I mean thankfully everything went good.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
that was a
literally,
crazy
man.
moment because he literally
But
got
I
the
don't know.
start command.
I just Matt was saying that something to do with platform two, I think, but it was just so weird because somehow in the warm up room throughout the day, like lifters that we had not seen in the warm up room were having to warm up right then because of something going on platform two. So it was just like we kept having to add a lifter to the platform. Like we started out with 4 and we'd end out with like 6, maybe even 7, taking a weight at a time.
Mhm. Yeah, I
So
mean, that
like
warm
that
up
really threw
room.
a wrench in everybody's.
Yeah, that warm up room was way too small for a one platform meet, not to even put out a two platform meet. I remember I walked in between sessions after I got back from like a lunch break. I walked in there just to check the bathroom. Obviously, there's a line of 7 people always. We had a huge problem with that in the first session. There was just a line of kids all the time in there. And I couldn't even get out because like one squat rack was right on the door to leave near the exit. So a guy was walking out of squat in front of the door. People were almost bumping into him coming in and out of there. And then like I don't even like what there was 4 combos back there. I'm sure there was enough plates for session 1 and probably session 2, but that's just a small
I
room to host 2 platforms.
I guess actually, like I don't think there was a problem with the plates. Like there was enough warm up. There was enough plates, I think.
Mm.
For sure.
But obviously with the
Nah,
Easton incident, he literally got to the platform with 1 second left, got the start command, blew it
Yeah,
up, blew up
it
his
was so
second.
weird.
Yeah. So I mean, it was bad, but it wasn't fine. Tony, you talk about this. I'm gonna talk about a situation that happened with Chris.
talk
Or
about what? Wait, talk about Easton?
no, whatever you were about to say.
Well, I mean, I just, I mean, there's not much to say. You can talk about. I'm not just gonna keep like I'll save it for whenever we get to the good stuff or whatever. I mean,
All right. But so there's one scenario in session 2, or no, session 1 that happened on the lighter men's platform. A guy named Hakeem Collins, who Zerlot was handling, missed his opener because he was in the bathroom. So he timed out. This shows one of the biggest issues on the day, which was the people entering in the weights. Obviously, you go to the lifting table over there, you enter in your next attempt. He didn't go back out there to enter his attempt because, when you time out, it's just going to retake 140, I believe it was. So on a second attempt, it wasn't Hakeem Collins, it was Tanner Jacoby, which is Chris's lifter. So Chris is like, send them out there. But then she finally enters in the weight and it switches back and they load 140. So Tanner takes 140 and now it messes everything up. And this happened 3 times. It's 1 in the women, 2 in the dudes. But people taking the wrong weight. And then Zerlot tried to argue, and the lady wouldn't listen, and the head platform ref wasn't like kind of helping them out. And when that happens, you're supposed to get a 4th attempt because it was a misload, even though you took someone else's weight. But that got really hectic, and that was just a headache to even commentate. I don't want to be like a diva about it. Like trying to prepare for the meet, the sessions aren't assigned. I don't know who's going to go where. I was like, all right, we'll just wing it, which, I'm phenomenal at everything I do. So we were solid. Tony was phenomenal on the mic. It got very hectic doing those 2 sessions and just a lot happening. The crowd's cheering for this guy while this guy's going. I don't like at the end I want us to compare this to a meet we trashed Holiday Havoc. Like we didn't really love Holiday Havoc. I think I'd rather compete Holiday Havoc than this meet.
I think that's an extreme. But I think I want to say I did like going back to what Eli said about how hectic some moments were. There was a moment where to me that was crazy, and like this isn't a bad thing at all. This is just something I noticed was we had uh we had Matt Abazadi getting ready to bomb out of the meet on squad. He was on his third attempt, hadn't hit a lift yet, and I'm gonna give credit where it's due. Matt came out and hit his came out for his third. He was getting ready to bomb out, and
Hmm.
K-Dub had to come out for his opener, I believe.
Yeah.
Uh Opener of 600 pounds, first squat of the day. If you know what it's like to do your first squat of the day, that's probably the most nerve-wracking one. I mean, he's competed, he's a vet, like he's competed multiple times, so I'm sure he was fine. But thinking back to the moment where I was getting ready to hit a squat when somebody was getting ready to bomb out, like next to me on the platform next to me, and Gene, like in nationals, and Gene, the MC, was going crazy about it. Everybody was like screaming at Chris, whatever, when he was getting ready to bomb out. I remember how badly I wanted to look and how hard that was messing me up. K Dub having to go out and hit his opener when his athlete is getting ready to bomb out of a meet.
Hmm.
That was a crazy moment to me. And shout out to K Dub because it didn't phase him and he went and hit 600 and it was fine.
Yeah.
But like some moments in there were just in that session, especially that squad session, were just absolutely insane. And that's honestly why I like this pro of this meet was just the people that were there and the way that events kind of played out. I think it was extremely entertaining. At least that flight B on platform one was extremely the 82s, they lived up to all of the hype, in my
Hmm.
opinion.
Yeah, it was hard for us to like kind of look at platform two because of how intense the 83s were and how like Matt getting called for depth on those first two and how like everyone was zoned in on there and then just people trying to hit their lifts and loading like making insane jumps like I don't know, it was hard to take your eyes off of platform one, but obviously I think we've said enough of the bad for now. We can kind of go into the good. The 82s, I believe we had what, one, two, three, four, five people qualify. And it's weird because so Kelly and Austin tied, and then Will, Matt, and Easton all had the same total at 610. I believe we had two people pull for 610 and miss. So it was again very intense with the 82s, but also shout out to some 75s, Corbin and Michael. So Michael, I think, actually placed fourth. And no, third. No. So it was K-Dub, Spurge, Kelly, Austin, and then Mike. So whatever that is. But so shout out to him at the 75s. He had a phenomenal performance. I remember Andrew Moon. I love seeing him lift. He was really good. Did not take his last deadlift. I think something happened there. Owen Reedy did phenomenal. Obviously in the female session, Corinne did really good. Lifter Jess did really good. That chick Kelly did good. Lilia did phenomenal. A lot of great performances to be had on that day. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I definitely was happy with the roster, the lineup. I think there it was really entertaining just for like because any meet that has one demographic, a junior only meet, a collegiate only meet, a a masters only meet. In my opinion, it's probably pretty tough to get a lot of faces, like a lot of recognizable faces, a lot of people that are going to perform pretty good and
Mhm.
have good entertainment value at the meet. I think this meet had a lot of familiar faces, a lot of people that people were invested into. Uh, Auburn stepped out all all their uniforms on. If you saw the Auburn uniform, they automatically or the singlet, Auburn
Yeah.
singlet, automatically caught your attention. So the athletes were great. I think that was honestly the best part of the meet to me.
Hmm.
Um, Nobody got disqualified for dumb things. Nobody dumped the bar. Nobody threw up. Nobody
Yeah.
like as far as the athletes go, I think that was a really nice just a nice meet in my opinion. I was very entertained watching
Yeah. And like,
for the
shout
most
out to
part.
Matt and Becky and everyone who was on this committee because these athletes didn't just sign up. They reached out to these athletes and were like, we need you here to compete against these people. We want to see a showdown. We want to see people go head to head. So they actually reached out to different colleges. And obviously we had UAB, Alabama, Auburn, Augusta University, South Al, Coastal Carolina, Georgia Tech, Kennesaw State. I don't think we had any Classic City people at the meet, but there's also a Conway College. I believe there's a guy there, but I mean there was a lot of diversity in the kind of the fits, the singlets, the teams. The Auburn singlet wins the day for like the best fit. Sadly, we did see about 5 people bomb out. I mean, obviously they finished the meet, but bombed out on squats. But overall, I mean, they had the hitters there, and it was definitely intriguing to watch. And the live stream ran pretty well, other than when people
Yeah.
were rolling on our cords and getting in front of the camera. The live stream actually ran good. So shout out to Mark and Jess for that. But
Right.
I mean, I guess we could kind of get into like let's go 3 things that did well, 3 things you would want to see improved if you could redo it. Avery, let's go to you. You got anything?
Uh, things that did well. I mean, like plate, like amount of plates. Like there was plenty of that in the warm up room. I mean the energy all day was great. Like for not for some reason, but a lot of people had people come to watch their lifters come. So there was a lot of people. I'm sure the meet was successful from that standpoint. And well, I'm blanking on a third thing that did well. That's terrible.
I mean, it's
Uh,
tough to do on the spot, honestly, after we've already talked about it, but just go with the diversity of
Mm,
lifters.
oh yeah, I mean, well yeah, the roster was good. Like I like seeing all those colleges. Like it. I think like collegiate only meets are a good idea because like a lot of people's like biggest problem is going to be the boundaries they create, like thinking they can't be really strong. Because maybe when you show up to like a bigger meet, you know, you actually see some like real life animals out there, and then you're intimidated. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
But it's a college meet, yeah, there are guys like K Dub out there, but then there's a variety of strength out there of everyone trying to just improve.
Mhm.
And then 3 things I would have improved somehow, like the warm up room's got to be a little bit bigger, like
Yeah.
just the space, like or just the line for the bathroom taking it up, like that's tough. Um, and then just like clear boundaries for where spectators are supposed to be, where people who are waiting for to take their attempts are. You know, the volunteer that's who's who's giving out, who's on deck, who's on board, all that stuff, man. Like, and then the TVs, man. Like, you know,
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I agree with all those,
for sure.
especially like my only thing with the warm-up room is like, yeah, they had nowhere to go, but I mean, your only option there is to curtain off an area of the room. You're gonna not be able to fit as many spectators, but there's nothing else you can do other than that to give your lifters more space. Like, still have this side room and have that. Tony, let's hear what you have to say before I start ranting.
I mean, for 3 things that I like, yeah, I definitely agree. I think the equipment, like that's huge. There was plenty of power bars and the warm up room, plenty of there were 4 combo racks. It was a small room, but there were 4 combo racks. So that's very helpful. There were nice platforms in there. You know what I'm saying? Like, of course, it's DNA. It has good equipment. So that was number one thing in my opinion. The volunteers that were there, uh, I think they did pretty good. They did what they could. I definitely think that the volunteers on platform 2 did take quite some time. But they took a while with the spotting and loading. But um, as far as everything else goes, I think for the third thing that I liked, man, I wasn't too because I was really in session 1 I was really worried about my people, and then in session 2 I was worried about like the battles and everything that were going on and stuff. I didn't get to pay attention too much to the
Mhm.
crowd and everything, but man, like there were a lot of people in there. There was a great turnout spectator wise. Uh and yes, I that kind of leads me into the one of the biggest things that really bothered me was like the spectators, like how there was no limit to how close they could get to the platform really. uh so yeah, we started seeing issues with the live stream simply because of that. People were kind of stepping on it and standing in front of it, things like that. uh on top of cameras, like too many cameramen, that actually became an issue to the point where they like banned them from the warm-up room, I think.
Yeah.
um, and I love that everybody wants to have their own videographer. Essentially, everybody kind of wants to make their own little movie with their friend has a camera, so they want to start practicing on them. Everybody's kind of doing that, but there can't be 50 cameras in a meet, especially when there's already a media team there that's like assigned to do that. Mark, he makes great content. Honestly, if I was Mark, I would have been extremely upset to see. And I noticed that they weren't too thrilled about all the cameras in their way. So in my opinion, got to be some regulation with the camera use there.
I
Because
believe they're supposed to be. I believe like you're not supposed to be able like in there with like a professional like a professional camera or whatever without paying for a media pass and stuff like that.
yeah, so that might real life have to become a thing that they people have to start paying for now at local
Mhm.
meets. Even is a media pass because bro, people were standing in front of our live stream camera like
Mhm.
unintentionally. Multiple people were doing it, trying to get pictures and videos. And at the end of the day, the live stream camera, in my opinion, is the most important camera because everybody,
Yep.
even if they do buy the media package, they're looking back at the live stream. So,
Mhm.
um, that was a one, number two thing. Number three thing, yeah, man, that the lifting cast slash there's not enough TVs copying Avery there. Like, bro, we got to
Yeah.
have a lifting cast in the warm up room. We got to have one, like, Avery, your phone freezes and you don't realize that things are, especially with how weird that meet was and how slow it was kind of running. It would make sense that you kind of assume that like your phone's not even frozen. You just assume that someone's taking this long to go to the next person, you know? But if there was a TV in there, I guarantee you Avery wouldn't have been looking at his phone. He would have been looking at the TV. And that whole issue with Will and Easton wouldn't have happened.
Mhm.
So, and then all these issues with people going out at the wrong time and taking the wrong weight, like that happened with the Zerlot guy that he was handling and Chris's guy that he was handling. They
No, and
Mhm.
then at one point, Easton like we were probably like standing by the platform for like a good 2 3 minutes, not taking our deadlift yet because another guy's name was up there and they could not get it off there for some reason, and like they were like
Yeah.
uh John, and then I was like, no, this is Easton. John literally just walked off the platform. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, that happened to us too. Yeah. That happened with me and Grayson. So yeah, man, it was rough. The lifting cast was kind of rough. But
Yeah.
you
I
do your
mean,
rant, Eli.
I'm gonna make one point
take
there
us
because you
home, bro.
mentioned, yeah, you take us home. So that media pass, that's actually phenomenal because that also brings in money that they can give to other things. Because one thing that annoys me is not having medals, dude. Medals are so cool. Like you bringing home a medal is so much cooler to bring home like some random piece of paper that you could have printed yourself. Like I know Tony has all his like lanyards and passes on his rear view mirror. I mean, just to have something that says, "Oh, this was this meet and I was there." That's phenomenal. Like that, especially for these newer lifters just getting into it, like having that memorabilia is so important versus just piece of paper that's gonna get crumbled and probably thrown away. So that's not on my list. I just wanted to make that point because I feel bad for, especially when lifters are like, oh, win our awards. I'm not even staying because it's nothing. It's just a piece of paper, and people are like picking it up and leaving. But one thing I really enjoy, obviously, I'm not going to say the equipment, but the
But
equipment is phenomenal. Go ahead.
no, I was about to say, that's why, bro. I don't think people should just be wanting to sign up for cheap meets. Like I think meets should they should be more expensive. Like they because you put on better productions and can reward that that gives you a better prize pool for lifters if you're doing a money meet for the
Mhm.
awards. Like I've seen in like I think it's up there with Eric Hogan up there in Maine. Like they'll just have like special shaped awards and stuff like that instead of like a normal USAPL trophy or whatever it is. I mean, like, so I don't know, but
Yeah. And
yeah,
obviously, like every time we've seen a Trueborn meet, like they've done something awesome with like a sword or an axe, or I think at Day of the Deads they even had this like cool little best lifter plaque. I don't know if they got to take it home. It was neon, and I saw they could take pictures with it when they won. It was just like huge
oh
neon
yeah,
lit sign. Like Trueborn really does a great job at that. I really respect DNA for wanting to host this meet and being like, yeah, absolutely, bring 100 lifters in here with their spectators. Like they've closed the gym for the day, move people out, and as a newer gym, every day counts with bringing in revenue. So, I mean, a lot of respect to
but
Waters and
I could be
hosting.
wrong, but like I'm pretty sure like when I've listened to Two White Lights with like Saber and stuff about like throwing on meets, like a lot of that stuff is like how much money does the meet director have to put
Mhm.
into the meet out of their own pocket because like you do have to go within a budget of having meets throughout a year and stuff
Yeah,
to represent however many lifters you have.
yeah, and
Because
obviously,
we've got a good amount of lifters in state now. We got like so that's why I've said like we need multiple meets throughout the year, but like at some point like you there's gonna need there's like different levels to the meets, and that's
yeah,
fine, because there's different levels to athletes.
yeah.
Like,
I mean, I feel that for sure. And the
Yeah,
prime
man.
time idea was great to bring that all that home, but there's some stuff that could have been corrected that doesn't cost money. Like obviously, we'll get to the podcast with Drew where we talk about razor thin margins that these meet directors run on and how most of them don't make profits because they got to pay these people. But stuff like organization and being prepared could have been more well thought out. Like obviously in my head, I don't know if it's because I'm an engineer and I have that perspective, but the flow of traffic is so important just to know where people are going. Like you got to think about that in a meet to know that people are going to go into the warm up room and clog it up. To know that people walking out, like just getting into the meet, walking in, have to walk right by the platform in front of the lifters trying to come put their attempts on in front of the live stream cameras. That was just a bit hectic, and there's not much you can do about this at DNA. But to get to my top three, bottom three, the equipment was phenomenal. I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say the payouts because obviously, if you go 500, 300, 150, that's 950 per gender. So, like, what, 1,080, 1,090, whatever that number is. That's phenomenal. I mean, we might not have medals, but people were left with some money. I mean, if I went to a meet and won $300 or even 150, that at least pays for your day. Like,
I
that's
was about to
great.
say, I mean, I think that's the one cool thing about other federations like USPA or just the untested ones,
Mhm.
where like every weekend someone's going home with money, basically. You know,
Yeah, but I do think that is a bit misplaced at this meet because although we were going shooting for a prime time where there's a lot of head to heads, ultimately this was a qualifier meet that had a lot of newer lifters in it trying to qualify for CNATs. I think that money is better well spent towards a more of a prime time meet where they actually have the prime time session, which obviously complications there, not how they wanted it to run. But just stuff like having a playlist going into it, like Noah was making the playlist last minute, and the music was pretty shoddy all day. Like it was kind of tweaking in and out. But I keep going negative. Let's talk positive. So obviously payouts positive. Lifter quality is my number two. Like getting to see the battles and the head heads was phenomenal. Third best thing, I mean, it's pretty tough. I would say the energy in the room was great. Obviously, it caused some problems, but people wanted to be there and watching, and you don't get to see a lot of that in powerlifting. It wasn't just people's parents being kind of asking questions in the audience. So love to see people come out and show their support, especially when it comes to teams and cheering for like Coastal Carolina, cheering for UAB, Auburn having their own crew. Auburn singlet is the best thing that happened at this meet, honestly. The Auburn singlet is beautiful. Every school needs one of those. So worst three. I've gave a lot of negatives here. Um, I think just the way everything was ran was pretty bad. With the lifting cast, with the refereeing. Like I know I could tell. I don't think Siraj or Kathy was really happy with it, but the referees were like on platform 2, they were having to hold up the cards because the lifting cast wasn't working again. The the referees weren't prepared for this. The meet director wasn't prepared to handle this. It was just unpreparedness. That's my number one bad thing. Um, Number two would be I think Tony said it like space. Like you have to back off space of the platform to have like, oh, spectators can only sit this close. Because if you're gonna have, each person bring their cameraman in, at least give them some space to walk. But ultimately that screws up the audience because they can't see as well. So pay for Mark and Jess, pay for them, and then they'll pay me more. But space. Give the platform some space, give the back room some space. You need more space. I don't know what else to say there. Third worst thing.
Yeah.
You guys want to say, Tone?
I mean, I just feel bad. We are like being harsh. But another good thing that I noticed too was for the volunteer room, they got us a bunch of pizza and energy drinks and stuff. So they treated the volunteers right, the ones that were there.
Mm-hmm.
Still wish there were more, but
Yeah.
they did look out for the volunteers as well. The money that I'm glad somebody mentioned the cash prizes because that was pretty sick to see. Uh, even though there were no medals, how often is there a money meet in Georgia?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I don't think that's like a common thing like at all.
Yeah. No,
Is it?
I can't think
No,
of one. I don't know. Did Atlanta Primetime give any money? I don't think so.
they
They did.
did.
Good. So that might be the only meet. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I
So
was like. That's
the
probably my
cash
biggest.
prizes, yeah,
Yeah.
that was definitely sick. And I definitely do think that DNA could be a gym where they have meets and stuff, but I just don't know if 100-person meet is 100-person one day, two platform meet is the way to go.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to the PLA one in April. They're just gonna have to run it back again, but that one's capped
Mm-hmm.
off at 56 lifters.
I
So
just think a one platform media DNA would work really well.
Yeah.
yeah, for
I
sure.
mean,
I totally agree.
I have some different ideas that they could use. Like I feel like if spectators were walking in the back doors, like if they could park in that back alley and kind of walk in the back
No,
doors,
that's
it
true.
would kind
Like,
of help traffic on the warm-up room side and the bathrooms. Like that would really help. So I mean, that's my biggest
no, that's
suggestion.
true. I don't know. I just kind of feel like 100 people one day is kind of chaotic,
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big proponent of
especially when it's just not the most like spaced out place anyway.
yeah, which I'm happy with. Like the air
Yeah.
conditioning was phenomenal. It handled it well. I'm an HVAC guy, so I was worried about it. The capacity wasn't too much of an issue, other than people like laying on the ground. We talked about the cameras, but it's not just people like holding cameras around their neck taking pictures. There was like tripods, like just like recording and like having these big, they take up a big square footage of space that someone could be standing, and you can't walk around them. You can't walk through them. You got to like kind of like shift and jump. Like every time me, Tony, or me and Avery went to go to the bathroom, you're like jumping over people, bumping every which way. That you have no choice but to like knock people over. I mean, I don't know what the cleanup process was like, but I'm sure it was not fun. I know Grayson said he stayed till like almost midnight. And obviously Matt just QT'd and you see him coming through picking up chairs. So I'm glad I wasn't a part of that part. But I mean, it ran and it went. It was
Yeah.
successful. A lot of good things,
Yeah.
a lot of
I
bad
mean, I
things.
definitely just think I mean, I think, it's not like the meet director could help what the spectators were doing and, how many bathrooms were in a venue and, this and that and stuff. I do think that, if you are coming as a spectator, that you do just kind of have to have that kind of courtesy that you're not gonna even like as a coach, like you're not gonna do anything to be in the way of other lifters. Cause bro, like you said, we had a literal like entourage, bro. Like
Yeah,
consistently in between the two little curtains in the platform. And they, all the Alabama lifters, there were so many of them that they were consistently up there, always cheering on their guys and stuff. But at the same time, it's like, you get your minute up there, you get your minute turn, and it's somebody else's and their coaches. And then, so it's like we got to be more considerate, especially with the bathrooms. I've heard multiple times from the same girl. I'm not gonna name drop who it is, but I've heard multiple times from the same girl at this meet and at the collegiate meet, uh, in that one CrossFit gym in November, uh, that if there were only two bathrooms in a facility and you're a dude, and yeah, especially a dude that's not competing, you probably should not be using the bathroom in the facility. And I completely agree with that. I didn't use the bathroom once in DNA because I just knew that other people needed it more than me.
yeah,
Volunteers, Siraj at one point, like he jumped the line because he was a literal like ref, like he needed to pee and get right back to work. So obviously athletes, they got to pee in between attempts, stuff like that. So
hmm,
I don't know. If you're a spectator at a meet, man, like figure out a way to simply just get out of the way is
yeah.
what I would have to say.
I mean, there was a porta potty out back. I don't know when it got there or if it was there for the first session, but I mean, I went down the street, kind of. Everyone to the QT. I went down the street by a warehouse. Um, I don't know. There needs to be like, because especially for lifters, like Hakeem missed it because he was in the bathroom. He missed his attempt. You kind of need like a lifters only space. Like that's especially in that warm up room. You need two porta potties outside, and that's for spectators. The two bathrooms inside are for lifters only. Like that needs to be necessary because they're on a time requirement. They if someone wants to go pee before a weigh-in to kind of lose zero point 0.1 kilos, they kind of need to get under there and do what they need to do. I don't know. It's fresh on my mind,
Oh,
and
for
that's why I got
sure.
a lot of complaints. But overall, great performances. Shout out Kyle. Shout out Spurs. Shout out Kelly. I don't know the names of the female winners, but I assume it was Lilia, Sophia, maybe
Shout out Easton and
Kelly.
Will, and shout out to Detroit Lions because they're alive for another week.
Ooh, beat the Rams. Nice. Very nice.
Uh,
But
I do feel bad. We didn't mention the female
I
winners.
did.
I feel bad about that.
I
Yeah,
just
Eli
did.
did.
I know who they are. I was watching.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure it was Kelly and Sophia, the 60 winner, and then I forgot where, or not Kelly, Lily, right? Lily Young probably won it.
I think
I don't know.
Lily. I don't know if she won. I think she.
I could pull it up real quick if y'all want to talk about something else.
Yeah, I'm already on lifting cast looking at it.
Ooh, I'm already on lifting
Um,
cast. But I mean, yeah, overall,
all right,
I would give the meet a 6 out of 10. Like the competition was phenomenal. It just was not prepared to hold such a good competition.
yeah, I
So
mean,
Sophia had
I
a
love DNA.
398 dots.
Oh,
Lilia had 413, and that would put Lily Young in third place with 384. Yeah. So I mean, shout out them. I knew it.
okay.
I'm a smart guy. Yeah, congrats to
We
them.
mentioned to Sophia.
Yeah, Sophia. She beat your lifter, Kinji Lou, the 60 kg.
That's not so. Her name's Sophia.
I believe
Yeah,
she goes by Sophia.
Mark
Yeah,
said so.
yeah. Mark said so,
You should,
and she's a ref too, and she ref the second session.
yeah. So
So if
shout
it's
out
not
No,
her.
yeah,
Sophia, shout
no.
out her.
When we were commentating, Eli was like, "Mark, you know about this one?" And he was like, "Yeah, that's Sophie Lee, Georgia Tech lifter." And he was like, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's how you say her name. I know her boyfriend. You want me to go get her?" And Eli said, "No."
No, like why are you gonna bring your boyfriend over here? I don't want to mess with that. But yeah, I mean, I think Sophia, I'm not sure. Georgia Tech lifter, second place, phenomenal day for her. I really liked her bench setup. Most people don't. It was a Nori style bench, a really technical wide deadlift too. Technical lifter on the day. I really liked seeing her, but also a ref in the second session. So shout out her. Shout out Lilia dominating it, and shout out Kelly. But overall, good meet. I'm giving it a 6 out of 10. What would y'all give it?
Yeah, short 6.
6. I mean, you could give it high. I feel like
Six is generous.
the competition was really good, but the meet, the way it was ran, was not built to hold that great of a competition. So like the idea was great, but the execution was bad. If that makes sense. But
I don't
I'm
know.
a
I mean,
stickler.
I
It's
think
the
it's
best meet of the
pretty
year so
tough to
far.
say any meet's like a 3 or 4 out of 10. You know what I'm saying? Like that's tough.
Yeah, I mean a
I
9
think
or
a
10 even is hard to get.
Yeah.
I think a 5 out of 10, man.
Yeah,
Like
I
I
agree.
said, man, like the roster was nice, the amount of people, the energy was nice, but everything that was good about it, like it like seemed like it even brought like a negative. Like there were a lot of lifters, but there weren't enough volunteers. There were a lot of
Yeah.
lifters, but there wasn't enough space in the venue. Um, so it's like there's the good and the bad, and it perfectly evens each other out. So that's why I'd say it's like dead in the middle, 5 out of 10.
Tony has been a wise man at the start when he said finite, and he's a wise man now. Beautiful pod, boys. If you're listening to this, go sign up to volunteer at whatever local meet you got. Be a volunteer, be in the sport, give back somehow. We're out. Peace.